Today we're talking about different persuasive techniques that you might come across when reading some nonfiction writing. This is going to be split into two different sections. It's going to be split into persuasive techniques used by politicians or in political advertisement and propaganda, but it's also going to talk about different persuasive techniques that you come across in advertising and commercials. So first we're going to talk about the different types of techniques used by politicians in propaganda. So first we have a rebuttal. So this is a response to an argument presenting an opposite viewpoint. If you remember from our informative techniques, that would be our counter-argument. So, for example, schools will designate a peanut containment area where people can store and eat peanuts with a hand washing station. And then the rebuttal to that, or the counter to that, while this would allow peanuts while protecting those who are allergic, it would also be costly and impractical to implement. So she has the argument and then she has the rebuttal, which is a response to that. You'll see this during debates or when politicians are directly responding to a specific point that was made by someone else. Stereotypes. We've talked about this many times, but it's an image or description that narrowly defines groups of people. So for example, girls are not good at sports, and she says, we'll see, because of course we know girls can be amazing at sports. Then we have repetition, when a phrase or sentence is repeated to reinforce the speaker's message.
Can you hear me now? Good. Can you hear me now?
How do you build America's largest wireless network?
Can you hear me now? Good.
By never being satisfied.
Can you hear me now? Good.
Until no matter where you go,
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
your call goes through.
Can you hear me now? Good.
Verizon Wireless. We never stop working for you.
Okay, so again, he's repeating the same thing over and over and over again to try and really hit home or really impress upon you that one message, which for this commercial was, that he can hear you pretty much anywhere, which means that their coverage is really, really good. With politicians, it's going to be generally some kind of inspirational message or something that they want to tell you, or something that they really want to get passed or have people vote for. So next is an appeal to authority. So this is when the speaker mentions an important event or person to lend importance or credibility to their argument. So they're going to talk about someone who is well known or well respected, someone who has good credentials that you should believe. So when we talk about doctors and scientists, so for example, in this really old ad, you say more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Of course, this was before we knew that cigarettes were really bad for you. But yeah, he's a doctor, so you should believe him. And because he smokes Camels, you should too. Except I'm not saying that. Please don't smoke. Thanks. Okay, next is name calling. This has been a big one in recent politics, unfortunately, but this is when someone attaches a false or negative label to a person. Usually, this is used to avoid supporting the speaker's own opinion with facts. They prefer to try and tear their opponent down instead of explaining their own beliefs or giving facts to back up their own opinions. So, for example, when Mitt Romney was running for president, people said that he was too wimpy and not harsh or bossy enough to be a good president. Okay, glittering generality. This is when we give kind of vague, positive words to things because it sounds good, but it ends up not really meaning anything. So, for example, in this ad, creamy, dreamy, icy, chocolatey. Okay, but what does that actually tell me about this? It doesn't give me any real information. It just sounds nice. So like when politicians say like, oh, it's going to be the best, or it's going to be huge, it's going to be amazing, like these are all great words, but they aren't telling me any solid actual information. Tabloid thinking. So this is a technique oftentimes used by writers who are covering politicians or covering opposite politicians, where they oversimplify a complex issue. So, for example, in this tabloid, it says the Queen backs Brexit, which would be Britain exiting from the European Union. I highly doubt that the Queen actually backs it, but they might have taken something out of context, or she might have supported it, if these things happen or whatever, but they're just going to say that she backs it, because she said something that we feel like backs it. So they're oversimplifying the issue so that people just read this one sentence and they're like, oh my gosh, the Queen wants this. Next one is shock tactics. This is when the author uses a large negative impact to encourage readers to agree with them. And I am going to say that you might want to have a little bit of a trigger warning if you get nervous about violence in schools.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Okay, so that was obviously very shocking, but it uses that negative impact to encourage people to agree with them. So it shows you how scary and horrifying that situation can be when there is a school shooter, because they want you to understand that it's a huge issue and they want you to donate or to believe in taking steps to prevent it. Next, we talk about slanted words, and this is pretty much the same thing as loaded language, but it's words packed with emotion that force us to look at something positively or negatively. So, for example, when we look at press briefings from our side versus their side, we have an Army, Navy, and an Air Force. We have these branches of armies of brave people, but for the other side, it's a war machine, right? We have press briefings and information. We're keeping our public up to date. Oh, they're giving us propaganda, and they're forcing us to see those political machine. We take out enemies or buildings or scary places, and we're destroying things, right? Or we eliminate targets, or we've killed people, right? So these are all ways that we can take the same message and make it positive or negative. Then we have emotional appeal. Again, this is pretty much the same thing as our pathos. When someone attempts to win an argument by giving an emotional reaction from the opponent and the audience. So, like, oh, look at this poor, sad, crying baby. He could die before we get to work today. So now you're scared or you're upset and you want to help, right? Now we're talking about things that are more strictly in advertising. Obviously, the previous ones can be used in advertising or political, but these ones you'll see less in political. So the bandwagon, this is everybody's doing it, so you should do it too. Your old saying, if everyone else jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? The bandwagon kind of encourages that. So, everybody's drinking Coca-Cola. It's the taste that everybody knows, so you should do it too. Plain folks technique is, I'm just your everyday normal person. I'm just like you, I relate to you and understand you because I'm just a normal everyday American doing my thing. Like, look, these Wranglers are a family affair and everybody has them, and they're just a normal country family out there in their jeans. The next one is endorsement, when somebody well-known or respected states or shows that they use and love a particular product.
Yo, what's up?
I'm just not feeling it.
Last name ever, first name greatest. Like a sprained ankle, boy, ain't nothing to...
Okay, I'm going to stop that before I get copyright strike, but you can see that because it's Sprite, and because Drake is drinking the Sprite, you want to drink the Sprite too because you like Drake. It's very similar to our, if you go back and take a look, very similar to our appeal to authority, but this time instead of mentioning someone who's in power or someone with like credentials, we're just talking about someone like really well known and someone who's popular. This is very similar also to ethos. Card stacking. So this is where we are telling you all the good things about something and not really all the bad things about something. You'll see this a lot when a commercial has like all those little afterwards where it's like, oh, you might get a heart attack and die if you take this. Like they mention all the bad stuff at the end and they mention all the good stuff during the commercial. So you can see like here, oh look, Satis fries, it's 40% less fat and 30% less calories. That's so amazing. But it doesn't tell you 40% less fat than what, or 30% less calories than what. And it doesn't say how many there still are until you look at the very bottom at this little bit. Oh, it's 30% fewer calories than McDonald's French fries, which this isn't even the same. And it's still 150 calories for 70g serving. How many of these fries makes up that serving? You know, so they're really slanting it to where I'm telling you all the good stuff, but I'm not necessarily going to tell you all the bad stuff that comes with it. Intertextual reference. This is when someone copies, changes, or refers to a popular or well-known source. So for example, you got the famous upside-down Spider-Man kiss with Mary Jane, and then years later, Shrek, being really silly, copied it. We have slogan. It's that short little phrase that's used to help you remember the things you love. So we've got, I'm loving it, just do it, finger looking good, all those things where, like, oh, I can't remember much, but I can remember this little thing of like, oh, I'm loving it, right? And then finally you have expert opinion, where a professional, someone who is really well trusted, is the one that's going to tell us you should do this thing.
It's like having fuzzy slippers on your teeth, but the real word for it is plaque, and that news came straight from the dentist. His advice, switch to Colgate Total.
When I saw a little pink in the sink, I thought, I'm just brushing too hard, no big deal. Then the dentist said a little bleeding is a sign of gingivitis and to switch to Colgate Total.
Only Colgate Total has an antibacterial ingredient. It attaches to teeth to form a protective shield that's clinically proven to protect against a complete range of oral health problems for a full 12 hours. No other toothpaste can do that. Only Colgate Total reduces plaque by up to 98% and gingivitis by up to 88%.
Clean. Even right after lunch, the plaque didn't come back.
My gums are healthier, stronger.
I recommend it because I saw results. Colgate Total has complete 12-hour protection.
For a free product trial, visit colgatetotal.com/.
Okay, so this is someone that's specifically expert in that field. So for this case, it's a dentist talking about toothpaste, like a dentist would know about toothpaste. Not sure if you noticed, though, but it said that this man is not actually a dentist. He is an actor saying things that a dentist probably would have said. So someone who is professional or expert in a specific field is going to tell you about this, and because he's from that field and he knows what he's talking about, we should believe it. So that is your different persuasive techniques.